Let's create a glimpsing into galaxies artwork inspired by a lesson from Miss Amsler's art room. Start by using black paper. Write your name on the back. You may use oil pastels that are neon black and white, as well as neon paints to create your own galaxy. You can draw aliens or different characters in your galaxy with the oil pastels. Since these are going to be in our glow art gallery for the art show, they do need to be in neon. I recommend outlining things in black, even though it is on black paper. It will just help it to stand out. So oil pastels are something that you can use in our Space Jam glow gallery. So I am adding an alien from Space Jam and a basketball. And then if you are going to paint on this black paper, it does help to add white first before you paint with the neon paints. It just makes it so it stands out a little bit more to create your galaxy, whatever colors you would like to create. Knowing that we are going to be putting white paper over top of this, another awesome step to add stars is splatter painting. Just know that there's going to be a white frame over top of this, so that's why I'm not going all the way to the outside edge of my paper. So again, if you're painting, I would add a layer of white paint first, blending your colors together to create different shades in your galaxy, and then splatter painting with a little extra water, tapping down on your brush to create a star effect. Remember, when you use this type of paint, the more paint you use, the darker the color is going to be. Then this is the part where we make it look like we are breaking through into a galaxy and glimpsing into a galaxy far, far away. So you mark the edges of your paper and then create these broken edges to make it look like we broke through a wall to see this galaxy. Then you have a vanishing point. So you take all of your edges and have them go back in space towards that point that I was pointing to. As you go around the outside edges, you make a second line that is parallel to the outside line. This is just our first try, and I'll show you again a little bit slower in a second. Just watch for this first try. Once you have created this is going to make it look like 3D bricks that have been broken. You can make the edges not straight and broken when you use your Sharpie pen to go back and outline everything. One side will not have that 3D look, and then the other side will. You can also make it look like there are cracks or bricks in the edges. This is just one example of how you can do this. You can also do a little bit of shading with your pen or a pencil. Then we will fold it in half and cut the center slowly and carefully out so that we can then lay this broken looking frame around the galaxy painting that you created. If anything needs touched up, you sure can touch it up. Okay, so if I want to add any other planets or extra things, you can go ahead and do some shading on a separate piece of paper, or if your paint is dry, you can always draw over it. I am just cutting and gluing a separate planet that kind of looks like it's falling into space. Anything you add, just make sure you glue really well. If you want to add more drawing details, you can do that. And then I'm even adding a detail that goes along with the Space Jam movie. I am drawing Michael Jordan's water bottle, you know, Mike's secret stuff, since this will be going in our Space Jam glow room. Feel free to add any extra details that you would like. Once you are happy with everything, you will take your white paper and be generous with the glue, line it up with the edges of your black paper, and give it a massage to finish the project. Now let's watch again one more time, but a little bit slower. You can paint anything you would like in your background. You do want to make sure that you do not cover the entire black paper because there will be a frame around it. Here I'm using heavy pressure with my oil pastels to draw a roller coaster and Bugs Bunny on it. When you paint, that is where you want to have the galaxy effect. Ooh, don't forget to use white paint first and then add other colors over top of it to mix and blend and get that galaxy looking effect. I'm also going to paint a little Space Jam logo at the bottom here because again, this is for our glow room that is Space Jam themed. If you want to look up a picture for any of this, you sure can. Okay. While this is, oh, and don't forget to add some stars in as well. Then, while this is drying, you are now taking your white paper. You are making sure to mark off how far in you need to go to make your frame. Then you are going in different angles to create this cracked look so that you can frame the painting that you just made. Next, you are finding a vanishing point. You need to make a point where all of your lines are going to go towards an angle towards. So see how I'm pointing to the vanishing point, so they all go in the same angle towards that point. Now, once I get to the side that's closest to the point, I don't need to draw lines anymore. Okay? Then you're going to go back around and make parallel lines. So see how I look at the line and then I draw the same line to connect. Go slowly, and this is what's going to make this look 3D by changing the angles of these lines. Once you get to the side of the vanishing point, you won't have to do the double lines anymore. This is going to make it look like you can see the inside of the wall that is broken. The middle part is what I know I'm going to cut, so that's why I marked it off. Now my next step is going to be shading this side in. You can use a pencil or you could do some hatching and cross hatching with a Sharpie as well. Notice how I'm also changing the direction that I am shading it in to make this look more uniform and 3D. So you can go ahead and shade in. After you have done this, then I would outline your lines with a Sharpie. Instead of having just straight lines, you can make your lines a little bit more jagged, make them look like they broke. So I'm using a skinny Sharpie here. It is up to you if you want to use a thicker Sharpie or not. So making these jagged edges, and then you'll start to see me adding cracks coming out of the edges to kind of, again, show that this wall is breaking. So go ahead and outline everything with Sharpie. Just be careful not to put your hand over the shading because that will smear. Now I'm taking a thicker Sharpie and going around the main edge just to make it a little bit more bold. It is up to you how thick you want your lines to be. So I'm just going over this with Sharpie again. And then my last step will be to fold, make a small cut, and then slowly cut the middle out. Once you place this over your painting, if you have a lot of white lines, you might want to go back with your Sharpie and re-outline and maybe even add some more cracks in, and then I would just sign your name small on the front.